Today we're going to be talking about reptile auctions, more specifically reptile auctions on Morphmarket and how to put them to work for you, and not in a way that you think. Of course you can buy and sell snakes, but did you know that you could also use this to gauge the interest in a project? But first, I want to talk about my experience and what I think about the Morphmarket auction system in general. I have obviously now gotten 4 snakes from the Morphmarket auction system pretty rapidly. I waited a little bit for when it first came out. Then I saw something I really wanted. And that would be the GHI Black Pastel, Red Stripe, Yellow Belly, Clown, 50% Het Hypo Girl that we picked up. And obviously I was able to kind of learn a lot from that. My general experience has been mostly very positive. However, word of warning, auctions are a kind of form of gambling, and it can get you into trouble. You can get addicted to that sort of stuff of winning. Just be careful, be intelligent, and be in control, and have a plan. Because if you start going nuts on there and getting everything, you're gonna have all these animals and no plan. That is about one of the worst things you can do. And the only other thing is that I did notice the auction timer. It's supposed to add another 5 minutes so that it prevents sniping. Well, I didn't always see the time go up. I was sitting there with 10 seconds left on some of them, and the bid would go up. I was told that I was outbid, timing down from 5 seconds, and it kept timing down. One time it did that with about 30 seconds to go, and I was able to refresh, and it never added the time. It is a newer system though, so I know it's still being worked on, but in general, I think it's a very good thing, and my experiences with it have been way more than positive, because I have gotten some snakes that I never thought I'd be into this early. And if you are wanting to get into investment ball pythons, or honestly, investment, anything, look at this function on Morphmarket, because it is incredible, and it pulls from a source of breeders that is the largest that I think you could find in the world right now. Before I go into the 3 points, let me talk about the 3 types of auctions. I don't mean this in regards to online or silent auction. I'm talking about auctions that are more common, 90% of your auctions, charity auctions, and rare item auctions. 90% of your auctions, the people in them and wanting to bid are looking to save money. If that item even slowly approaches the hemisphere of its actual cost, almost all buyers will back off. That's why these never go for their actual cost. If you want to sell an item for its full price, you're probably gonna have to wait because you have a lot of competitors. At an auction, it goes for less, you're gonna sell it. Charity auctions are a completely different story. People will bid insane amounts of money for the silliest of things, or for things that are sentimental. At the NARBC auction, we had seen people bid up to $10,000, and then everybody started adding on. I think it got to $60,000, $70,000 for a silicone wristband that was special edition, one of I think 5 for Brian Barczyk. So that'll tell you everything you know about charity auctions. Then there's rare item auctions. Rare item auctions would be something like a Mickey Mantle rookie card, like a Charizard first edition card. That is a super rare item that people are willing to bid massive amounts on because it's one of a kind. These snake auctions are almost always, I think, going to be the 90 percentile, where they're trying to save money. Now, on to real meat and potatoes. How can you make this work for you? The number one way as, say, a seller is to sell the snakes. Now, there are things you can do. You can put reserves on these. Let's just say that you put a sunset up and you did not want to sell this sunset for anything less than, say, $1,000, and it were to only get to $800 and the auction ended. That auction would basically be null and void. That is what a reserve does, is it kind of protects your bottom line. However, in general, things with reserves on it, if it's a high reserve anyways, don't go for as much. I think that people are more inclined not to bid on things with higher reserve numbers. Just be reasonable with it, because it's not gonna sell. Face it, when you're in auctions, and we'll get to this with the buying part of it, you're looking to get a deal. So if you place something on auction and you want the full price, this probably isn't for you. Selling is not where you're going to win here. The win for selling is that you're going to move the animal and you're going to get something for it, and you're going to get the bottom line market price for it. More on that in a bit. But it is a great way to move animals that maybe you've had for a while, that you know are worth something especially, but you're tired of holding on to it. I see everything mostly get bid on that has reasonable reserves or starting prices, because there's that too. You can also use starting prices to your advantage. So there's definitely a market that's alive for these bids and for, in general, snakes. But maybe you gauge the reserve number or the starting number and you put that kind of close to your bottom line. But you got to be a little reasonable. The lower the reserve, the higher these things go. I've seen some of them go for an incredible amount, but not all of them. The other way is to save money as a buyer, and there's so much to be had there. One thing that I noticed, a trick of the trade, so to speak, I noticed that auctions that were slated to end in the morning, they went for less than they should have. We've been tracking these, I've been a part of them. The same jeans with times that ended in the evening went for sometimes considerably more. If you are a seller, it's in your best interest to have your snake auction end in the evening, probably between 7 and 9 o'clock. Most people are at home. They might be sitting on their new Morphmarket app on their phone, bidding on your animal. At 6 a.m., most people are either at work or they're sleeping. Think about when your auction is going to end. And then if you're trying to buy, yeah, this means that you might need to be peeking on your phone at work or waking up early, God forbid, but you can score incredible deals. I know this because I did it. I've seen the same jeans go for double or more at the evening time. Make your auctions, if you are a seller, end between 7 and 9. At the same time, if you're a buyer, get up in the wee hours of the morning and look at that. Now, is this going to be a guarantee each time if this is a crazy, insane auction? Maybe not, but the interest will certainly die down. People are going to be asleep. Finally, and I think one of the most overlooked and important things that you can use Morphmarket to your advantage with is interest in a project. I can't state how important this is from a marketing standpoint, from a business standpoint. I have seen morphs that made me feel very good. So one of them that got me the idea for this was, unfortunately we did not record this particular one, but I watched Monarch, and in the last 10 minutes, I think it was, that went all the way from bidding at $1,000 all the way up to just over $2,000. Now, one thing to consider when you're talking about the interest on this is that, again, what I alluded to earlier is that things are not going to go for the prices that they are listed for, but you will still sell them at these prices if you want to wait. Monarchs will still sell for the $3,000 or plus that they are listed for. Other animals that what they're listed for will still sell for these amounts if you are patient and move with the medium of the market. But determining the bottom line for a project, I think is very important too. And when the bottom line of a project is about $2,000, that's pretty big. So how you would gauge interest in this is, of course, the cost. The cost is very important. This determines what people are willing to pay at a lower amount. They want to save money, right? They want to get a deal. But $2,000 is still a lot of money. So when I saw Monarch go for that much at a crazy good deal, knowing that the person who spent $2,000, $2,000, was thinking, hooray, this is amazing. I just saved over $1,000. That's really good. It's a bottom line price. Yes, I could sell it for more, but the bottom line price is important. Now, there's another very important part to interest, and that is how many bids. How much interest is there? Now, you can't see individual buyers, and I don't think you can even see if they were different buyers really, or if it's just a couple people fighting back and forth, but it doesn't really matter. It does gauge the absolute interest, and there was a bunch. Some auctions will have lower bids, and some will have a bunch. And this particular one, I think, got into the 50s and 60s. Of course, I didn't capture that one, but you can see some of the other ones here. They get a lot of bids, which means a lot of interest. Anything that's double-digit bids, to me, means that there's a good amount of interest. Of course, each auction is going to have its own level of interest and such like that, but you can really gauge the interest as a whole. So if you have something that goes for a lot of money with a lot of bids, that's the best of both worlds. A lot of bids but a low amount of money, that's not the greatest, but it still means there's a lot of interest, which is still really good because it means that there's still life in that project. A little bit of bids but a lot of money, that's good, but you eventually want that to go a little more because without interest, that project's future could hurt. Now, obviously the money factor, if people are interested and they still spend that much, great. But I'd say the bids are more important in general, because if I can sell one snake for $1,000 to one person over the course of a year, or I can sell 20 snakes for $200 each, I'm picking the 20, as long as I can produce that much. What I'm trying to say is if you're interested in a project because you love it, don't not be interested. But understand that if you want to make money on that project and you have an expectation for the money of that project, this is a great way to see what that realistically could be. It should be more in the bottom line. If you watch the auction and it ends for $500 and you're pretty depressed about that, it should probably still be more than that. But it's just a good way to gauge the market's interest and what it's willing to pay when it's getting a deal. Remember that. This is for deals only. So it's not a perfect representation because realistically it should actually be more in terms of your price that you're putting. But it is a great way to gauge where the health of a project or genetic is. I really encourage you to use this information when building projects, especially if you want it to be monetary. I feel like it's beneficial to go for something you're passionate in. If you're passionate in something that's not popular, who cares? Passion is what drives everything. But you should also then be realistic about the price. If you're passionate about the spider gene, well, I got bad news for you. Not a lot of money in that. But the point of the matter is what I'm making is that be realistic about what you're investing in and what your expected return is going to be. And you can use Morphmarket auctions to determine that. But one other small caveat, you have to watch them live. It does not tell you what the auction ended at. When the auction ends, it wipes and says ended, and then switches to on hold and then eventually sold. You cannot see what that ended at. And quite frankly, I think that's for privacy reasons very important. But if you want to see what they ended at, you need to watch it live. So if you're interested in a project to use this as an investment type strategy, you get on Morphmarket and watch an auction. If you're wanting to use this for your advantage, you got to be proactive. If you wanted to see a video on what a lot of these morphs might be going for at an expensive rate, you can actually check out our video on the most expensive snakes on Morphmarket right now, right here.